and then let's go live.
Two ball guys with Rancher Ron. Two ball guys with Rancher Ron. Two ball guys with Rancher Ron. A long winged Monday morning, time to rise and shine. Want some motivation? Well, I know a few guys with the internet connection. 216 is on. Tune in. The Two Ball Guys with Rancher Ron. Introducing Coach Papa Tim Stewart's his name. He's a master with the pen in the poetry game. He wants to see a better world and he plays his part. Always loving, always giving, cause he's got a big heart. The co-host won't boast, but he can stand on his own. From the state of Iowa, it's the man Ken Jones. He's impressive on the mic and he don't need a cord. Whether hosting or he's hooping, he's controlling the boards. And the one feeding the hungry herd around the world with timely observation, dropping nuggets and pearls. Though he's not a city slicker, he's as cool as the Fonz. It's the witty wisdom giver, Mr. Rancher Ron. Set the tone for your week. 216 is on. Tune in to Two Ball Guys with Rancher Ron.
Good morning from somewhere in North Texas.
Somewhere out there. Congratulations, Grandpa. You now have a 12-pack.
Yes, we do. One week old baby girl, Everly Nicole, joined the other 11. So we now have a soccer team and a sub.
There you go. Interesting. That's good.
Things are good. Been getting some riding in down here in the hot weather, getting out early in the morning. Finally got some biking shoes with biking clip-in pedals, and we'll find out how those work tomorrow.
Well, they're good until you have to put your feet down.
I've heard that rumor. So I've been in group rides down here almost every day with as many as 20 riders, and learning that. And I'm the only one riding in sandals.
There you go.
So I figured if I'm going to be a rider, I may as well look like a rider.
That is good. Good for you. Anything else new besides the grandbaby on your?
A lot going on with the combat brain training. We spent a week in Murfreesboro, Tennessee at Olympic Development Program. I've got a meeting out of there with the head of the South Texas Youth Soccer League.
Nice.
A young man who was on a team I coach for. Not on the team. His mother was a co-owner and manager of the team, is now a professional soccer player for North Dallas FC. So I had a meeting with him, and we went to a game last night. We got there, and it was just a beautiful night, but one of the boys that came with got sick, so we got to see warm-ups, and he threw up a couple of times, and we had to turn around and come back home. So and they wound up winning the game 3-0, and Isaiah Parker, the young man who I know, got an assist in the game. So it was like, doggone it. But life happens. Family first always, right?
That is. And what a great, boring sport.
For you.
I think for most people. I don't.
We went to a game in Dallas. 58,000 people were there who would disagree with you.
Yeah. No, they're just bored. Nothing else to do down there in Texas.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all.
I see how you are.
That's all. Hey, Ted.
What's been going on with you?
Good morning. Just you can hear my voice a little bit. Just got out of the gym this past weekend for a national basketball tournament. And my 7th, 8th grade girls played up at the 9th grade level and learned a lot of good lessons, which is good. So came away with a couple victories. So anytime you got young girls who can beat a couple of grades above them, then that's exciting. So we played well. We had fun, but as you can hear, the voice just isn't as well. Maybe it's even better.
You got kind of that Wolfman Jack going on.
That's right. That's right. Other than that, the transformation of the studio here is almost complete. It's really turned into something absolutely brilliant, and we of course had our brand new show, The Reject Rundown, on Saturday night. What a great show that is! Just a great group of guys. A podcast that's been going on for a couple of years with a great following. Decided to join the 216 Net family. Absolutely great. This week, of course, we're jam-packed with a bunch of good shows, so stick around. Mary Shep's coming back for her next series of Living Low Sodium. this Friday at 11 a.m. So it's going to be good. A lot of good things going on here at 216 The Net, of course, which is fantastic. And we appreciate everybody tuning in, dialing in, and starting your week with us right here. Of course, Two Bald Guys and a Microphone, brought to you through the Natural Therapy Wellness Center. Their support, and we love them. Check them out at www.mchenrymassage.com, which is great. And Shayna, good morning. Glad to have you with us.
Morning, Shayna.
What we wanted to do is we wanted to tackle leadership, and maybe the fallacies of leadership, and what is leadership? What is leadership? What is it not? And our little, this month we're going to tackle a lot of questions on leadership. So when I say leader, Leader, not Litre. When I say leader, Coach, what pops into your mind, or is there a picture of somebody that pops into your mind?
Well, for me, it was probably General MacArthur, United States Army, one of the finest leaders out there. Led the United States military in some very difficult times. He, he stands out among the rest. As a graduate of the Officer Candidate School of the United States Army, leadership has always been very near and dear to me. I was actually at one point in my career the senior leadership instructor for the state of Illinois, teaching leadership to.
Hey, that I would.
Yeah. Let's just leave it. I was a senior leadership instructor. We'll go there.
That's right.
But I had the opportunity to teach leadership not only to hopeful officer candidates, but also NCOs, non-commissioned officers, in their education system as well. So I've done a lot of research and background on leadership, and it's always been an important trait to me. And, people who step into leadership roles as a manager, they miss a great opportunity, because just because you're in the role does not automatically make you a leader. And I know you've experienced that throughout your life.
Oh yeah. Chad, Shayna, anybody out there listening, if you want to jump on and jump in the comment section there, kind of the same question goes out to everybody. When you hear the word leader, man, that person's a great leader. Is there a person, an image, someone that comes to mind that that you're just like, man, every time I hear leader, Leader, that is, that's what I think of. Shayna, good morning. She chimes in, says, the best leaders are those that can assess and extract the best from people to attain a goal. When you are in the presence of a leader, you do.
The definition we used in the military, and it's changed slightly over the years, but leadership is the ability to influence someone to do something positive with minimal supervision. There is no negative leadership. Negative leadership, I coined the term bleedership. There are people out there who get people to follow them, but they just bleed them dry, and they use them for whatever they can. But a true leader is a giver, is a servant. At one point I was teaching a program in North Texas called servant leadership. And we've all heard about servant leadership programs, but I got in a bit of a discussion with the person who was hiring me. And I said, there is no servant leadership. There's only leadership. A leader by definition is a servant. Shayna, thank you. But Jim Jones was not a leader. He was clearly a bleeder. Simply because someone follow him, they follow for all the wrong reasons. They follow because they're tricked into following or coerced into following, not following by choice.
No, and I appreciate, and you and I have had this battle for many years, and I appreciate your want to be positive. But Jim Jones was a leader. You got people to follow him.
No.
The definition, Peter Drucker says the only definition of a leader is someone who has followers. That's it. If you can get people to follow you, then you're a leader. Doesn't matter if it's for good, doesn't matter if it's for evil. You would also say that, hey, Hitler was not a leader; he was a bleeder. Just because it was bad, but a leader is someone who has followers. That's the definition of leadership. Doesn't matter what for. Just matters that they are leading people in a direction.
So the first lemming over the cliff was a leader.
Yeah, if the other lemmings followed that, then yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Agree to disagree.
Okay, why?
Because a leader and leadership was Jim Jones' servant.
Absolutely.
Did he serve the people, or did he serve his
Sure,
own
served him
personal?
Kool-Aid.
He definitely did serve him Kool-Aid.
No.
Probably the proportion was perfectly mixed. But in the world of, call it true leadership then, but if we're talking just simply leadership, and the only thing you need to be a leader is to have followers.
Yep.
That would make us leaders, right? We have some followers. We have Shayna shows up, Ted shows up, other people show up throughout our show. Are we leaders simply because they follow our show?
Say that again for me.
Are we leaders simply because someone follows our show?
And Ted says, yes, actually, you both are the definition of leader. But also, my dad was a great leader. To me, someone who can get people to follow them in the goal they want to accomplish, good or bad.
Good or bad.
There you go. Shayna says, yes, I would say you guys are thought leaders.
Well, thank you, Shayna, and thank
There
you,
you go.
Ted.
So, yes.
It's still something I struggle with when someone goes down a negative path just because others go down that same path with them. They're not serving them. They're serving their own personal needs. I mean, who knows what Jim Jones is?
Well, every leader's serving their own needs. Absolutely.
How?
Absolutely. If you're quote unquote a leader, you're doing something that you love. If you're doing something you love, you're serving your own intention, your own love. You can be a servant and still do what you want to do and feel good about that. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have a mission in life, and if you're after that mission and people follow you on that mission, you're a leader. We can go to the purpose-driven life, right? Absolutely. Right? So if you're fulfilling your purpose and it makes you feel good, then absolutely you can be a leader and be a giver and still get it back because you love that feeling.
Right, but it's like we talk about in sports all the time. The wins happen when you do all the little things right. Right, when you only focus on the big things, and the wins a lot of times don't happen because you miss all the small stuff. When leadership happens and a person gets into a leadership role, I mean, we've all seen the results of leaders who have gone too far. Tiger Woods was a leader in the world of golf until he thought he was untouchable. The
Wait, whoa, stop right there. What do you mean? He was a leader in golf until he thought he was untouchable.
Well, he started dating and doing things off the field that he thought he could just do anything.
Okay.
There's people.
Good morning, Mike. Glad to have you with us.
Morning, Mike.
He's still a leader. Are you kidding me? More people tune in to watch golf if he's in. That is absolutely 100% trackable. He's still a leader in that industry because if he's in a tournament, guess what? the ratings go through the roof. More tickets sell. Just because he did something in his personal life that you and I wouldn't agree with or do doesn't mean he's not a leader. He's still a leader in that industry. And when he goes into the senior tour, guess what? Still leader. You see, the problem is that I love you because of your intention to be positive all the time and bring out the good. But simply put, a leader is somebody who has followers. Warren Bennis says leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. True or false?
True.
Okay. So if I can take a vision and translate it into reality, good or bad vision, and I have followers, I'm a leader. Would you say that so you would say that the Grand Dragon for the Ku Klux Klan is not a leader?
I would say that.
Why?
Because under the definition of leadership, when I go into the characteristics of a leader, he is doing something that is against society. Thank you, Shayna. Shayna says, I like Coach's World better. And Kent, who's in charge of the keys, he took that one off really quick.
No, I didn't.
I'm just teasing you. But when you get down into it, the leader has a moral responsibility. I like what Shayna says. He's definitely less revered. But when you look at a moral responsibility, is what the Grand Dragon or whatever his title is.
Okay,
is he following a moral pathway?
So let's go back to your vision of a great leader, and you said it was General MacArthur, right? And you said that Hitler was not a leader. Okay, MacArthur took his team places and killed people. Hitler did the same thing. What makes them different? Because one had the United States flag on his arm?
No, because one was defending, one was attacking. I mean, obviously, he was on the offensive at times.
Depends which side, what colors you're wearing.
Well, history is always written by the winner. There's no question there. But he was following orders given to him, and when he took those orders, he created he created missions and plans that put together victory after victory. He still killed people. That's the military. That's the unfortunate rule of the military.
Okay, but what makes it different than Hitler? Nothing. Hitler had an army as well.
MacArthur never took a group of religious individuals, such as the Jews, over 6 million of them, and annihilated them. He fought people who fought back. It's okay to kill a bunch of Jews.
I did not say that at all.
Well, that's what it sounded like.
Not what? No, that's what you said. That's not what I said.
Well, you said he was a leader.
Absolutely, I said he was a leader. I don't have to agree with him, and I didn't follow him. So don't put words in my mouth, because that's not what happened. That's not what I said at all. I'm saying you like a leader because he has a red, white, and blue flag on his shoulder.
It's nothing to do with the flag.
But he went in and did the same thing. He charged people to kill people.
He didn't do the same thing. He fought people who had the opportunity to kill him back. Hitler didn't do that.
So did the Nazis. They were
well on the battlefront, but not in the camps.
So it's two different game plans. But Hitler had people who followed his vision. Yes. MacArthur had people who followed his vision. Yes.
Hitler had people who followed him because they were either scared or they were brainwashed. You can't tell me people.
And the United States Army doesn't.
No, the Marine Corps does, but the Army doesn't.
Right. Correct. The United States military, my son's in it, you were in it, trains. You want to call it brainwash, you call it brainwash, you want to call it whatever. But you're taking normal civilians, asking them to do things that they wouldn't normally do. You're training them to do that. So the interesting thing is with leadership, what is leadership? In your eyes is as long as it's for the good, you're a leader. If it's for the bad, you're not a leader.
You're a bleeder.
Right. So you say that the red on the United States flag stands for the blood of the people who died.
Blood that was shed,
right.
winning of this country.
But the red on the China flag means something. It's not. It's not the same. It's not the same. Even if they were to say, "Hey, this is for the blood of the that was shed to keep this country communist," you'd be like, "Yep, no, not the same. That's not the same." Right.
Well,
so in our overwhelming attempt to play with leadership, and again, I love you for this, and I want people to understand too. I'm not far from his definition either, right? So before all the hate mail comes in, I'm just trying to say we're just trying to find a definition of what leader is, and so I'm pushing back a little bit. Right?
I've got to agree with you that the simple definition of leadership is to have followers.
Yeah.
But leadership, true leadership, goes beyond that. And I go back to a moral responsibility. That would, put the argument forward. What is morality and where is it defined by? At one point it was okay to kill and eat your enemies. Today, that is not morally acceptable.
In the United States. I mean, because there's parts of the world that it is.
If there is,
right? There's parts of third world country. There's an island out there off of, I don't know, South Asia or something like that, where if a plane or helicopter flies over, they start throwing spears. And if you go down, they're eating you. That is acceptable for them. Right.
Ted says here, and that falls on the leader. The leader has the challenge of helping his or her team to be the best in the process to win, whether to accomplish small or large goals. And there's truth to that, but that also could, a manager can fall into that. I would have to say, and Mike or Kent, the experience I had with my high school soccer team. We barely won a game. We won a few over the years, but so would that make me a poor leader because we didn't win games?
I didn't ask what is a good leader.
No, I'm going off of what Ted is saying here, to working to accomplish the win.
No, I don't think that makes you a bad leader. No, maybe a bad game plan. Maybe a team. Maybe a team that even though they worked hard and follow your lead, didn't do the necessary things in the off season or off the field to win on the field. I agree with that. You can have the best processes, the best game plans. If they don't execute, it's a whole thing. Shana says, I'm a nightmare to manage, but the best team player you can ask for. But an aware leader that has their ego on check can get me to over and beyond and somehow make me think it was my idea. I respect that level of leadership. Let's stick around. We'll probably go down the business lane of leadership in the next 4 weeks. So
I believe we've got a guest or two that are going to join us on leadership as well.
Yep. Mike Krejci says you can have good leaders and bad leaders. They are still leaders.
Well, right. I will concede that point.
Right. Now, Warren Bennis, as I said, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Agree or disagree?
I agree.
Okay. Every spring, you have a vision for a garden. Lots of carrots, maybe tomatoes, and that becomes a reality. Are you a leader?
It
Nope.
depends on if the carrots stand at attention when you walk into the garden.
Nope. You're actually, I mean, you're actually a gardener at that point, right? You're not,
Right.
you're not a,
Mhm.
you're not a leader. So really that definition seems to be kind of soft, right? Bill Gates. Let's go to Bill Gates, one of the most famous and loved people in the world today. As we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. And that's what you're saying. So you're going to agree with that.
Yes, I do. Leadership says that all decisions are made at the lowest possible level. So you're empowering others to make decisions along the way.
Right. So this definition includes others, and empowerment is a good thing. But to what end? I've seen I've seen many empowered, quote unquote, who have empowered others in rioting, hooligans, Google workers who are misaligned with the rest of the company. They found themselves unemployed after that. I think that definition kind of lacks parts about a goal or vision that Ted talked about earlier.
And Shana just said empowering is the best definition so far. I agree with that. Ted says even if you lose, it doesn't mean you didn't lead in a winning way. It just means you were outplayed that day. I appreciate that, Ted. Where were you when I needed some moral support back in those days? Are you able to immediately identify the child leaders on your teams? Yes, you can see them. I wait to select my captains until after the first game because it's game time leadership that really has the leadership stand out. So appreciate you.
All right, but that empowerment that we were just talking about, you can empower people to give them all the power in the world. Hey, I'm going to empower you, and then they go and do the wrong thing, and they say, well, I think we're all in this boat, and I think that if I sit the other way and row the other way, because you gave me that empowerment, there you go, and that doesn't, then you never achieve the goal or the vision.
Goes back to something Shana said earlier on when you empower someone and their ego comes out of check. A lot of times, that young manager is coming up and he becomes empowered to do certain things, and then his ego, a second lieutenant, freshly out of and a commissioning source. There's a story of a young man who was in Germany in the evening. He was standing under a dimly lit light with another soldier, and he says, pulls out a cigarette and says, "Hey, do you have a light?" And the other soldier says, "No." And at that time, a third soldier walked by and said, he said, do you have a light? And the soldier said yes and lit his cigarette. I said, "Thank you." And that soldier walked on, and the first soldier's friend says, "Oh, what are you doing?" He goes, "What do you mean?" He says, "Dude, that was General Eisenhower." And the young soldier ran over and saluted General Eisenhower and said, "Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you." And the general returned his salute, smiled, and he said, "Just never let that happen to a second lieutenant." The point there, when you first get a little bit of power, you normally go to a point of abusing that power until someone, an authority, will check you down. And I think over time, if you think of yourself when you were a young coach versus how you coach today, I'm sure there's quite a bit of difference in the way you do it because of the lessons and the life lessons you've learned over the course of your coaching career. And I think that goes into leadership as well. When you first get into a leadership role, it's hard not to check your ego. But it's later on in your life that you begin to realize it.
Right, but and I would disagree with that wholeheartedly because if you have to check your ego, you're more consumed with your position or title than you are being a leader.
That's the point. I don't know what you're disagreeing with.
So well, what I'm disagreeing with is a leader doesn't check their ego. A leader is a leader. Someone who's not a leader allows their ego to get in there. So maybe I misheard you. I thought you had said a leader, when they get a promotion, then they have to check.
Well, no, they learn to check their ego over time. When they first get the promotion, they don't. That's part of the problem. But
Right.
over the years, I've had the opportunity to MC a lot of events at Fiesta Days, and I've had that chance to deal with a lot of people. You know, I was backstage with Queen, with Survivor, with Boston, who else over the years, and seeing the way that these uh, bands, even though they were on the back end of their careers, still their egos were so inflated. It was like,
Sad.
yeah, you're just a really good guitar player, dude. You know.
Shayna says you can be a good or bad empowerer.
Well,
My coach says you can't be a good or bad leader. If it's for bad, then you're a leader.
Take it as a personal point of view, but
right.
Having been involved in it for a very long time, if you want to simply say because you have a follower, then go ahead. But leadership, I don't know, it carries a more personal definition for me.
No, that's why we're trying to peel it back and figure it out, because for the next 4 or 5 weeks we're going to be talking about it. So we really want to get people to a spot where we can say, okay, this is what we've defined as leadership, and we may not do it in this hour, right? But we're going to talk about it. Now. John Maxwell, everybody knows John Maxwell. John Maxwell, he trains leaders. He has leadership programs. John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Would you agree with one of the best quote unquote leaders out there, who trains leaders, who's got a school for leaders, who's got programs for leaders? Influence, nothing
If
more.
you think about what I said in my military definition, leadership is the ability to influence others to do something positive with minimal supervision. So yes, I'm very high on board with that.
Okay. So I've been in a bank and held at gunpoint, point blank, in an armed robbery, and that person with a gun said, "Listen, get on the floor." And that influenced me to get on the floor. Is that person with a gun pointed at me a leader?
Based on your definition, yes. Because in that moment,
Based on your definition, because he influenced me to get on the floor.
Definitely influenced you to do something positive.
Absolutely, get on the floor so I could live.
Save your life, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's a leader. This armed robber is a leader.
What if you chose not to follow him?
I may not be here today. We don't know, right? So according to your definition, that armed robber, absolutely 100% a leader. Because he influenced me to do something, and it was positive, because I'm still here.
Well, the outcome was positive. Were you feeling positive at the moment you were laying on the floor?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
I'm still alive.
Yeah. Shayna says he wasn't a leader.
Thank you, Shayna. Well said.
It's different. Well said, but according to your definition, it aligns with your pieces of definition and influence.
Well, and again, it's not my definition; it's just the definition that I choose to use. I didn't write it.
Right. I'm just right. I'm just putting it out there.
So, and what are we trying to accomplish today in this show as we launch into a 4 or 5 week series on leadership?
Right. One is to get your blood level up so you don't have to have coffee this morning. So there you go. No, I think we really, as we roll into this, because what I want to talk about too next week is the fallacy of leadership, right? And I think there's a big fallacy of leadership because it looks different to every you don't look at Jim Jones, you don't look at let's say, Hitler, if it's bad, you don't look at those, you personally don't look at those as leaders. Okay. There was a time when we would say the president of the United States is the
leader of the greatest free nation in the world.
Would we agree with that today? Would we agree with that 6 years ago, 10 years ago? At what point did that stop being the definition of the president of the United States?
Well, I don't know if it stopped. We don't necessarily agree with the person in the role, but the office is still the office of the president. We don't get into politics, fortunately, on this show.
We don't. But
from a leadership perspective,
with social media, with things out there, with more awareness, we now realize that there are other people calling the shots, not necessarily the president of the United States. Right. And we take a look at that and go, okay, at what point did that stop? Right.
Thank you, Ted.
What's Ted say? What's his Ted?
I want to get rid of those.
I'm trying.
Ted says it's different because you weren't being led by choice. Someone to me who leads by force or fear, like a robber, is not a leader.
Yeah. I'm like, what were those? I went to click on Ted's and something else jumped up there. Bots. The old
bot.
Yeah, he says it's different because you weren't being led by choice. Someone to me who leads by force or fear, like a robber, is not. Oh, I chose. I chose to get on that floor. Trust me. So what is leadership? Could we say that leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal? So we've taken everything that we've talked about today, and we said, okay, notice the key elements. Leadership stems from social influence, not authority or power. Leadership requires others, and that implies they don't need to be direct reports. There's no mention of personality traits, attributes, or even a title. There are many styles, many paths to effective leadership, and it includes a goal, not influence with no intended outcome. So maybe that may be a great definition. And it makes it different from many of the academic definitions out there, because it maximizes the efforts, quote unquote, right? It really maximizes the efforts. So technically, a leader could use social influence or just organize the efforts of others. But I think leadership is about maximizing the effort. It's not, hey, everyone, let's line up, get to the top of the hill someday, but rather, hey, see that hill? Let's see how fast we can get to the top.
Maybe. What's the greatest book or your favorite book that you've read on leadership?
I'd have to think. I'd have to peruse back through it. I'm trying to think of the title of it. I can't think of the title right now. What is yours?
Well, I've read a lot of them, obviously, but for me, FM 100-5, the Military Leadership Manual, is still the one I go back to. The Bible, thank you, Shana. I would have to agree wholeheartedly with you. But in the leadership manual, it takes us through several situations, wartime and peacetime. I mean, it's a lot easier to lead soldiers in wartime because they're out doing things than it is to lead them in peacetime, almost like it is to get athletes in the off season, excuse me, to get out there and train. my grandson, it's his off season down here, but he's still in training with Coach Che, and I'm out there at practice the other day, and it's just part of me, go watch Rudy.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see the cover of the book. I can't think of the title right now. But yeah, I'll let you know next week, of course, or if it comes to me here in the next couple minutes.
and to be clear with our audience, when Kent said, "Hey, why don't we, these next 4 or 5 weeks go into leadership?" I knew where this first show was going, but it still he can still get under my collar a little bit with some of these things because he knows how I feel on it, and I can't disagree with the simple definition you're using. For simple
Right.
minds, that leadership is simply having followers, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Right, and that's why I say that's why I say I kind of like, and I thought about this, and as looked up some definitions from other great people, or people that we would consider, quote unquote leaders. Simon Sinek, everybody loves Simon, and Simon, thanks for tuning in this morning. Anytime you want to jump on, just let us know. We'd love to have you on. Says that he's a thought leader. He's a thought leader. Everybody loves him. He's got great stuff. He speaks a lot about leadership and what it is and isn't. A lot of us, and a lot of the people tuning in now, are getting ready to go to their job, and I think there's a lot of frustration with people's employment today because they want a leader, but don't necessarily work or report to a leader, right? Shayna, I think it should be decided by arm wrestling. Oh, coach would absolutely beat me arm wrestling. There's no doubt about that. And squats. And trust me, I don't stand a chance. This guy he's an old farm boy from way back. Those muscles don't disappear.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
We were down here putting together a trampoline a couple of years ago, and my son and his neighbor, and it's this new one with these fiberglass bars that you have to bend into place. And his neighbor says, "At what time does old man strength kick in?" I said, "You just got to keep doing it."
That's it. There's a guy who threw hay bales one arm, so I don't stand a chance in arm wrestling with him. So yeah, that's why I say leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. That wraps up. And if we wanted to add your piece, for good, right? And so that's a pretty strong definition of leadership. I think. Yeah, old man strength. LOL. LOL. Lols. But leadership is and here's the whole thing, and why you can have such a divisive team, whether you work on it, whether you watch it, whether you whatever, because leadership is so unclearly defined that we truly don't know what it is. But we all, rolling back to Shayna's question earlier, let me find it. Are you able to immediately identify the child leaders on your team? And the answer is yes. It's so difficult to find in so many definitions for maybe everybody on the team. But when you see a leader, you know it. You're like, man, this lady has what it takes. I want to follow that lady. The energy is good, the vibe is good, the vision is good, the way that she inspires, the way that she motivates, the way that you just are like, let me get in there, let me follow that person, right? And it is, and there are I don't think there's personal traits, right? I don't. Well, you've got a good jawline, you stand up straight, and you're going to be a great leader. Someone asked, that may have been Shana. Do you think they're born? Um, do leaders create leaders? Oh, here it is. Do you think leaders are born? Coach, do you think they're born?
No, they might be born into a certain set of circumstances that help them establish a core of leadership based on their family values. But I don't believe that would be like saying the president was born. He just has to wait for the office to open up. So no.
And that's a question I have to say I don't know. And the reason that I don't know that is we can put babies together, infants, toddlers, who still can't talk, and there may be a baby in that group that tends to lead the other babies. So there's something natural about leadership too that I don't know. Maybe getting a psychologist on here might help me out a lot, but it could also help out. But
It's a lost cause.
puppies are the same way. There's kind of that natural leader. Are they born? That's a tough one for me to say because I haven't researched it enough. But you can see at a very young age who that kids, babies, animals. There's just a natural selection, I guess, right? So that to me, that's an interesting question. And Shanna says, I do know good leadership is dependent on emotional intelligence, the need to adapt to various personalities required. Yeah.
But again, we have to add the word good in there. And I agree with Shana wholeheartedly. But just if you're simply defining the word leadership, which is the goal of today, I defer to the bald man with a microphone. Leadership is having followers.
Yeah.
But now,
Well,
as we get into the
Miriam,
essence of it,
you put in there the Webster Dictionary took a political stance on this.
yeah.
It was interesting. I did not, and I usually do look up definitions, and I didn't. I looked at other people's definitions, but so the Webster's Dictionary defines leadership as the office or position of a leader, the capacity to lead, and the act of or instance of leading.
Yeah, help me understand that whole.
And this is truly why there's probably a lot of mishmash and whatnot when it comes to leadership. What is leadership? Is it somebody who inspires? Is it somebody who motivates? Is it somebody who just has followers? This even Miriam says, I don't know. So I'm just going to use the word lead in there several times, and leader and position, and that's so it's a tough one to define for everybody, as the dictionary has a difficulty. The capacity to lead. Well, what is that?
Well, and going back to what you just said earlier, uh, on the situation of babies, are they born leaders or are they born followers?
True.
Are they looking for someone to lead, and whoever has the strength to step into the role becomes the leader simply because the followers are looking for someone.
Yeah, right. Um, uh, yeah. So maybe they are, you know, um, um, born followers. If we go back to the Bible, which Jesus's disciples, the apostles, were they leaders or were they followers? They were followers, then leaders.
Well, there were students who eventually, but I mean, if we get into the whole religious discussion, they were followers up until the point that their leader disappeared. Then they had to become leaders, but it took him coming back to get them straightened out.
Yeah. and and yeah, I mean, so you take a look at that, and that's a very strong question. Shanna says, if I have high IQ and
EQ.
oh, EQ, sorry, yep. If I have high EQ and need you to do something shady, and I know what personality trait I need to learn, I'll lean on. I am not leading.
Am I not leading?
Oh, am I? See, it'd help if I could read.
That's that Iowa reading
Yeah.
test.
So EQ is,
Emotional
I don't know.
IQ quotient. Intelligence IQ is intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, or the level of emotional intelligence.
So you're, yeah. So well, if you go this way, to what I define, right? So leadership is a process of social influence. Then yes, absolutely. Um, and yes, absolutely, which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. Then yes, absolutely.
So
You know,
you just gotta love these guys.
hey, they're bombing us. We haven't seen this for a long time, but they're hitting us hard this morning. The bots with the pornography. This is wonderful. So as we take a look at it, all right, social influence, yes, maximize the efforts of others. You would be maximizing towards the achievement of a goal. Yep, for the good. If we want to put that in there, then it would hit all the marks except for the good.
Right.
Right.
And
W. Clement Stone, a great philanthropist and author, he kind of tagged it as, back in the day, as long as it doesn't hurt you or your fellow man, he would throw in there. Right. So he was a great insurance guy, a businessman, and he would always say, you go do it and help people do it, as long as it doesn't hurt you or your fellow man or put them in harm's way. And that's what, So if you wanted to, put that down there, then yeah. Shayna says, now add charisma. There are some great leaders that don't have charisma, though, out there. Gandhi, did he have great charisma? Don't think so. Right? Pretty meek, feeble man who went out there. Sister Teresa, how about her charisma? Great leader, not necessarily the most charismatic person in the world, right? So I don't. Again, personal traits I don't think blend into leadership. There are things that we admire of leaders and leaders that we like and appreciate, but I don't know if every leader has to have those. They don't have the same personal traits.
the we at the officer candidate school and then NCO leadership courses do teach a list of leadership characteristics that make a good leader. But leadership itself doesn't depend on the characteristics. You're correct.
No.
But in teaching people to be good leaders or quality leaders or whatever term you want to put in front of it, you've got to understand certain things that, humor is one of the 14 leadership characteristics in there. Do you have to be funny to be a good leader?
Yep. Maybe.
Bill Cosby was funny.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're down to the last 4 minutes.
Bill Cosby was
where did the time go? So again,
absolutely.
we're here thanks to the financial support of John Peterson and his crew over at Natural Therapy and Wellness, McHenryMassage.com. I am ready when I get back from Texas. We'll be gone almost a month. It's been a workout down here. So if you're looking for something to help release some of your, John is a leader in the world of massage therapy.
That's right.
www.johnpeterson.com. McHenryMassage.com.
There you go. So yeah, so it's good. So are we settling on leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a good goal or a goal used for good?
Yeah, I can accept that as a definition of leadership. Simple leadership. As we move forward on the week, I think we're here trying to help people become good leaders, better leaders, and we'll hit into that. But leadership is simply having a following. In order to be a good leader, you have to have a following to start with. So I think that is it's a great place to start. But there's a lot more that we're going to unpack over the next 4 to 5 weeks, without question.
I'm just typing this in there, so we got it. I'm just going to memorialize it, as Rancher Ron would say.
Appreciate you being here. That's you, Shane, and Mike, and all the people who check in today and follow this and watch it even after the live show is over. You're the reason we do what we do, so we appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Now we'll throw that out there. If I did spelling right, then that's wonderful. And of course, that's what we're here to do. That's who we are. And I apologize, I didn't throw this up on. I got a late start, but I didn't throw it up on Two Bald Guys, so we probably missed a bunch of people. But leadership is a process of social influence, which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal for good, or which is important, and that's what we'll live with here in this series. And I think it's going to be fun because we're going to have some other people in who are SMEs, right? Subject matter experts on this, and we'll get their take. We'll be able to do some banter back and forth. Maybe they can dissect our our definition that we'll be using. But next week we really want to tear apart and tear down, leadership fallacy, right? And that may lead into the Hitlers, the Jim Joneses, those areas, or leadership fallacy in the business world as well, because there is a lot of that out there too.
Well, and I have a complete forum that we will bring out and talk about leadership versus management. What a manager does versus what a leader does, and simply because you're in a leadership role within a corporation, that does not make you a leader.
Unfortunately, that's what we've taken. We've taken the C-suite and said, "Hey, you're a leader." No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
And a lot of times, the fun thing next week will be, a lot of times we take great leaders out of the position that they're great at leading at to move them up to that C-suite, and then they become horrible leaders because they're doing something they're not good at.
Yeah, how many great basketball players have gone on to become great coaches? I mean, there's a handful at best. I've outlined a book called "From the End of the Bench," because I believe that's where the great coaches come from, the great leaders come from, is from the end of the bench.
Speaking of great coaches, Bill Russell
passed
away as maybe one of the greatest of all times.
He is, it's got to be in that conversation without question. The greatest team player of all time. He never led his team in scoring, but yet he was part of 11 titles
in 13 years, and he was a player coach. Tell me how that works.
He was a player coach, and then went on to coach them for several years. After that, he was one of the great ones, and he will be missed at the
true leader, even in the world of diversity and human rights. Just
did a lot. And it just talks about all our own mortality. My granddaughter Kaylin, it's her 19th birthday today, And we were talking to her yesterday, and she goes, "Oh, 19 is just, it's a little number, Pop." And I said, "Wait a minute,
Uh-oh.
not such a
He
little
froze.
number for me."
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, listen, we've got to run. I know you got to get over to the Ziegler Corporation real quick. Love everybody for tuning in with us. Thanks for hanging out this morning. Thanks for starting your week with us here with Two Ball Guys. And stick around, 216 The Net's got great things going on all week. Check us out at www.216thenet.com. Until next week.
It's time to get off the bench and get back in the game. Peace out from Two Bald Guys and a microphone.